This is Mr. Anthony Yard, Beast from the East, and you're watching Lights Up.
This is FAISAL for Lights Out in association with Shamrock Boxing. And with me via Zoom, all the way from the good old USA, is Amer Abdallah. Amer, good morning to you. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm well, brother. How are you? Thank you for having me on.
Very well. Thank you for asking. And pleasure's all ours. Amer, I think it's only fair to start the interview off by talking to you about, well, I wouldn't say a small concern. I'd say a very big concern, a situation that's kind of like turned the world upside down is the coronavirus situation. We're sort of getting back to some sort of normality here over in the UK, but what's the situation like in the US and where you currently are right now?
Right now, currently, I reside in Las Vegas, so I'm on the West Coast. I'm currently in Detroit. It's state by state, region by region. For the most part, I think the American people are pretty fed up with isolation, and they're pretty done with quarantine. They just want to get back to, as you touched on, just normalcy. The problem is this thing is more infectious now than it's ever been, and just as unfortunate is people really turn this into a political virus or a political pandemic as opposed to a medical one. If you wear a mask, you're far left. If you don't wear a mask, you're far right. You're either pro-Trump or anti-Trump based on whether or not you believe in this or you should be wearing a mask. So I think interesting is a very integral word that you can use for this. But God willing, this thing will start to they'll start getting a vaccine out, and even that's going to turn into a political nightmare. But whatever, we got to get through this. And I think the most important thing is everybody remembers that as a society, the most important thing is our humanity and our integrity and our honor towards one another.
Yeah, as you said, fingers crossed we could come through the other side of this. And I mentioned we're getting back into some sort of normality. Some of the kids in the country went back to school today. What's the situation in terms of, the young kids going back into school and perhaps like slowly going back into the elderly people going back into work as well?
Again, I think that it depends on people's preferences and the schools themselves. I think most public schools in the United States are not going back to school. They're doing a lot of virtual training, or they're doing what they're calling hybrid education, where it's 2 days in school, 3 days virtual. My kids go to a private school, and they've cut the class sizes in half and have taken some immense measures to ensure that the school, the classrooms, the schools, the teachers are all practicing the right kind of social distancing and protocol. And the interesting part of this will be what happens 6 months down the road, a year down the road, from the effect of where we are. We already see a tremendous economical impact. Now it's just a matter of what's going to happen even with kids, with society, with, my daughter, my baby daughter, thank God she's going to be a year old. So for 6 months, for 4 months, 5 months, she was never around anybody because we were just isolated. And then when people started coming around, she started becoming frantic, like, who are these new people? And it was a light bulb went off where that's really the society that we've turned into. It's very isolated. But we'll see what happens. Again, the most important thing is for everybody to remember their humanity. It's not about religion, race, political view. We got to get through this together as one team.
No, perfect. Well said, Badou, and hopefully, we can come through the other side of this and we can sort of get back into some sort of normality, because it's just something totally unexpected, and it's been hard for a lot of people and in terms of finances and employment. But like you said, hopefully we can come through the other side of this. Let's move on and let's talk a bit about the guy that you've been working closely with, the former world champion Badou Jack. I just want to rewind back to December last year. Another brilliant fight, because Badou's always a great close call fights, and he was in a fight with Pascal. As I said, it was a great fight. The decision didn't go his way. Just talk to us about Badou's performance, because he'd fought previously to that in January. So that's a long layoff from January to December. To get back in the ring, I believe, 11 months later for a world title fight. What did you make of his performance with a sort of layoff that he had going into that fight?
Brother, it's such a loaded question, and I could probably take the rest of the interview just going over that fight and touching on every point of what you just asked. Here's the bottom line. When that bell rang at the end of the 12th round, look at Pascal's corner, and do me a favor. Really, go back to the fight tape and look at Pascal's corner and look at Badou Jack's corner. We were jumping in joy. We were 100% certain that we had won that fight. Pascal's corner looked like a morgue. It looked like a close family member just passed away, and everybody was in mourning. We were jumping. We were all over the place. Leonard Ellerby came to the corner, and I go, Leonard, they're not going to F us out of this one. He goes, impossible. And I remember kissing him on his big, bald head, and I said, man, we did it. Thank you for the opportunity. And we were jumping and celebrating, and everybody was happy, and, Floyd even got in the ring, anticipating that there was going to be a belt exchange. And then it happened again. There is not a fighter in boxing today, and I represent a lot of guys, and I say this with utmost confidence. There is not a fighter today that has fought the caliber of opponent that Badou Jack has fought, and there is not a fighter today that has had the horrible decisions that Badou Jack has had. 8 world champions he's fought back to back. Name one other current world champion or former world champion that's fought 8 champions back to back, and he's gotten screwed on these decisions. The DeGale fight won the fight. The Stevenson fight won the fight. The Pascal fight won the fight. The Boutte fight won the fight. All of these fights that he's getting these decisions on. And I told Leonard, I go, Leonard, what the hell's going on? And he goes, I've never seen a more unfortunate situation than this. We all want to put our finger on something more than that. I'm not sure what it is, but I'll tell you what, in this next fight, whoever it's with, there's going to be an exclamation point. We're not leaving it to the judges anymore.
Would you say that, because as you mentioned, the Stevenson fight, the James DeGale fight, there's so many close call fights that Badou's found himself in. Would you say that there's some sort of an agenda against Badou in terms of these points decisions, these close call points decisions? Because it really is, as you mentioned, 8 back-to-back fights against world champions, and to be given decisions going against it. Would you say that there's an agenda against Badou Jack?
Boxing, and my go-to line is, this is a business disguised as a sport. I'm not going to say there's an agenda. I'm going to say that something doesn't make sense. Let's leave it at that. And let me respect everybody that's involved in this game, and give everybody, even if they don't respect us. And let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. How much, first of all, these guys are jeopardizing, and they're putting their health on the line, their lives on the line, essentially, to make a living for their families by being in the ring. And it's what they've loved to do. And the reason that they do it isn't just out of passion and love for the sport. It's for a financial gain. Am I accurate in saying that?
100%, yes.
Okay. And the most admired fighter of our time is admired because he made an abundance of money, and that's Floyd Mayweather, and being able to make close to $1 billion in his career. Mm-hmm. So they're prize fighters. Let me ask you this. How much do you think Badou's financial landscape or his financial picture would have changed if 4 or 5 of those controversial decisions would have went the other way? So when you tell me, is there an agenda? If there is, that's criminal. Mm-hmm. Because what you've done is you've deprived this man of a lifestyle and a financial revenue stream, which he deserves. He legitimately beat these guys. What happened to DeGale after the Badou Jack fight? What happened to Stevenson, as unfortunate it was, after the Badou Jack fight? Badou ruins these guys. But he just doesn't get the decision. So, again, I could just go on and on about that, and my blood starts boiling when I talk about it, because Badou is the most humble man in the world. He was so disappointed after the Pascal fight, and I went over to him and I said, Badou, just be careful what you say, when you do the post-fight interview. And he goes, don't worry, brother. He goes, I got it. And he went on. He surprised me, because I thought he was just going to mother F everybody. Because they're taking food out of this man's children's mouth. Mm. That's what you're doing. You're depriving them of a lifestyle. You're depriving them of education, of cars, of clothing, of a lifestyle. I don't know. I mean, I would love to say, yes, there is an agenda. I don't have it, so it would just be speculation, and I don't speculate.
I can relate to you when you say Badou is one of the most humblest guys you can come across. I mean, I spent, I believe, nearly an hour with him when you guys were in London last year, and I must say he's a lovely guy to meet, very respectful, and he's had a great career. It's just a shame that these controversial decisions have played a massive part in his career. But as you mentioned, we'll have to move on and discuss his next fight. It's on the Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. undercard against Blake McKernan, I believe. I follow Badou on Twitter. I understand that the one fight he wanted was that rematch with Jean Pascal, and according to Badou's tweets, Jean wasn't interested in the fight. Could you tell us what was the reason behind that rematch not being able to be made?
Look, let me say this to you. We want the Pascal fight. Of course, Leonard Ellerbe, Floyd Mayweather, Mayweather Promotions, they'll line it up for us. And we have utmost trust and faith that they'll give us the best fight. When it comes to the rematch with Pascal, Badou said, I will take a pay cut. I just want the Pascal fight. Mm-hmm. I'll take the pay cut. Pascal didn't want to do that. So, and I get it. He's at this stage of his career. He wants to get paid. He wants to cash out. I get it. I mean, I can't fault a guy for wanting more money. But you can't say, and so Badou's like, I want to stay busy. So we got him a tremendous opportunity on the Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones card. And that's where we're going. So if the Pascal fight comes to fruition, yeah, we're in. 100%. Badou, nothing else matters to him more than being able to fight and get back into title contention.
What's your, as we mentioned, the fight takes place on the Mike Tyson Roy Jones Jr. undercard. What's your thoughts on Iron Mike and the great Roy Jones Jr. coming out of retirement and facing each other?
Again, this is a business disguised as a sport. And these guys, Mike Tyson has fought killer after killer his whole life, his whole career. Roy Jones, same thing. These guys deserve to get paid. These guys deserve to get paid and deserve this stage. The most important thing for me is that they come out safe, because at this age, you want to make sure that these guys don't get hurt, physically, or worse, have long-term damage after fighting at such a high caliber level. I hope they make a lot of money. I hope they come out safe, and that's all that matters to me.
Well said. I hope that's the outcome too. And in terms of yourself, I mean, I remember watching a clip of you the other night when you sort of had a confrontation with Shannon Briggs. Now, is that all?
Does my hair look okay?
You look perfectly fine. The confrontation with Shannon Briggs. I mean, what was the reason behind that? Because watching it on YouTube, you can only get the clip of when you and him had just sort of like come face to face. There's no reason behind you and Shannon sort of having a confrontation. What was the actual reason that you and Shannon Briggs sort of come face to face?
Look, a couple of months before that, Shannon and I were having dinner at Badou's house. When fights happen, you have to understand this, right? And I'm not giving any kind of excuse for anybody, especially if anybody puts their hands on me. One, I'm very aware of my surroundings all the time, and I would never put myself in a confrontation where I'm arguing with a guy that I would think would actually pop off or put his hands on me. So that part came as an absolute surprise to me, because like I said, we were just together a few months before that. And even before that, the last press conference, we saw each other, he came out and hugged and we embraced. But when you go into fight mode, everybody becomes an enemy. So I can't fault Shannon, as crazy as he is, for turning into fight mode. So he's representing his guy. I'm representing my guy, and we're having words back and forth. And things get heated. Now, my biggest problem was I didn't like the fact that I was held. I mean, anytime, and that's one of the biggest regrets. And I had the conversation with the gentleman that held me back. I said, "Don't ever, ever, ever do that again to me." I mean, no matter what, I don't believe there's any man in the world that can ever beat me. But regardless, you let me go down with my fight and you let me do my fight. I will never allow anybody to put their hands on. So the fact that happened, and as soon as we got back in the hotel room, Shannon called him and Badou were talking, and he's like, Amer, I am so sorry, man. He's like, man, I don't know what got into me. And, he formally apologized, and he was, and he did a stand-up thing. And then afterwards, he came over and he hugged me, and that's it. It's buried. But, the fight world loves drama, and that's why everybody's so attracted to it. And listen, in the heat of the moment, in the heat of the fight, shit like that goes down. It is what it is, man. If you don't again, people get so offended by sometimes, the things that happen. It's the fight game. What do you expect? That's what's going to happen.
I think what helps a build up to fight week is a bit of confrontation outside of the fighters. So I don't think people were complaining. I was a bit surprised when I seen it on when it was released on YouTube, because I've interviewed you, I've spent time with you. But like you said, it's fight game. It's the fight game. It happens. What else do people expect? Yourself, an retired, undefeated kickboxing world champion. Your career, 100%, is that you kickboxing done? Or we've seen Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. come back into combat sports. Would you rule yourself out of a comeback, or is that it 100% you and kickboxing done?
Sometimes I used to watch these guys fight, and I remember sitting, at ringside during a lot of fights, and my heart would start pounding fast, and I would be talking about, I can't wait to get back into camp. I can't wait to start looking and seeing the rankings and who's next. And that's not in my heart anymore. It's just, my drive is now changed. I think I still have the same hustle, the same grind. It's just in a different direction. I have no ambition to fight again. I've had a great career. Thank God. I've accomplished everything that I've wanted to accomplish. I won a world title. I was the youngest to ever promote any of my fights in history. I was the first to ever fight and be my own promoter, and I caught so much slack for that at 18 years old, 19 years old. So I did what I wanted to do. Alhamdulillah, I've had a great career, and now I'm just taking that drive and that energy, and I'm putting it towards my fighters. And I wish I had a guy like me for me, where we can build opportunities outside of the fight game for the rest of your career and a career outside of the ring. But right now, that's really just where I'm focused on. And no, I have zero. I was with Mike last week or the week before, and I'm watching him, and he's got that hunger. He's got that same drive. Like when it's like he was repossessed or reawoken or whatever you want to call it. He's got that. Roy Jones, I think Roy's always had it. Even when you talk to Roy, he's combative. And I have a great relationship with both of them. And I have absolute admiration for both of them. But when you talked about Amer Abdallah, no, brother, I'm checked out. I'm done.
Fair enough. Final question. Obviously, as you've got a career background in mixed martial arts. Give us a prediction for Khabib versus Justin Gaethje.
Now, I respect Khabib. I was with him out in Dubai a few years back. I'm going to say this. I'm not a big fan of mixed martial arts. I'm starting to get that way. Mm-hmm. And I think guys like Khabib are the ones that are bringing me and gravitating me more towards it. But I don't know enough about MMA to give a prediction. I'm going to stick with my guy, Khabib, for the win. I saw Gaethje fight over the quarantine, and I think he was a last-minute fill-in or something like that. But he was he seems like he's a top-notch kind of guy. I don't know enough about MMA to start giving and breaking the fight down, but I'll go with Khabib.
Fair enough. Well, okay. It is a very funky hat. Well, Amer, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate you giving us an interview, especially with you currently on the road. I don't know how people can multitask, drive, and talk, and hold the phone at the same time.
I'm the king of multitasking, brother.
I'm going to make sure I remember that. But hopefully we'll see you down in the UK one day. We're really looking forward to Badou's next fight. Safe journey, and we look forward to speaking to you again sometime.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on, brother.
Not a problem. My pleasure. Amer Abdallah, thank you very much for talking to Lights Out.
Thank you.